You're watching Tennessee Titans Today. I am Tom Downey, and that Week 2 effort was an absolute disaster. Tennessee mostly forgot to show up against the Buffalo Bills in prime time on Monday Night Football. Now they are 0-2, and there is a lot of concern, even beyond the injuries, but just on this team as a whole. It is very rare and difficult even to get yourself into garbage time in the third quarter. And that is exactly what happened when the Bills blew out Tennessee in Week 2. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs cooked the Titans all night long. Even James Cook looked pretty good as well. Ground game struggled. The offense looked bad. Outside of the one scoring drive, Tennessee had nothing going on either side of the football. We've got some news, rumors, takeaways, and some panic meter to discuss. But first, it's only 0-2. The AFC South is not that good. If you want the Titans to turn around their season, get some success going, and make their way back to the playoffs again and win a very winnable division still, then like the video right now. It is backed and proven by science that if you like the video, the Titans are more likely to make that happen. So don't be the guy that curses Tennessee. Like the video right now. All right, some injury notes. Most of the real details not yet known at this point. Taylor Lewan, Bud Dupree, the two big ones, a knee and a hip respectively. Trent Cannon had a wrist injury. That's a backup running back. Adding more concern to your outside linebacker depth, Ola Adeniyi is also a bit nicked up with the knee. Mike Vrabel had his press conference moments ago. Not many details here. We'll begin with the two big ones and focus in on those two. Taylor Lewan, first up here, carted off with a knee injury. The severity is still unknown. Mike Vrabel, who is notoriously tight-lipped when it comes to any and all injuries, did not have any real update at his press conference, just said they will monitor and see what's going on there. Didn't rule out Nicholas Petit-Frere flipping over to the left side. When Lewan went down, it was not Dylan Radins who stepped in at left tackle or NPF. He stayed at right tackle. Radins remained on the bench. Dennis Daly checked in, the guy the Titans traded for from the Panthers this preseason. He was bad. 1 hit, 5 hurries. He struggled mightily as a backup left tackle. I think Tennessee has to consider adjusting their offensive line with Jamarco Jones, who was also banged up against the Bills, out. There's a lot of concern on that O-line. It's amplified when you lose your best player for a to-be-determined amount of time. Bud Dupree, next up here, left the game with hip injury. Only update from Vrabel was not long-term, which it needs to not be. Tennessee is down at this point with Danico Autry kind of playing some edge rusher role when they go four-man fronts. Their pure 3-4 outside linebacker depth chart, drastically thin. They were playing Joe Jones out there, and he's not – I mean, he was kind of an off-ball linebacker week 1. They were desperate to put him in there at edge in week 2. Ola Adeniyi's banged up. Bud Dupree could miss some time. So it's Rashad Weaver, Jones, and Derek Tuska. When can Tack McKinley be good to go after signing in the practice squad? They are thin at outside linebacker. But of the two injuries, which one's more troubling for you? BD for Bud Dupree, TL for Taylor Lewan. This will be our pinned comment on today's video. If the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Some takeaways now. Some of these are like the overreactions I've seen. I mean, you see the thumbnail. It's meltdown mode, right? And I get it. It should be. It very well might be panic time for this team. It wasn't just that Tennessee lost. If you lose a game, you know what happens. It's going to happen occasionally. It's not the end of the world. It is the way that Tennessee lost that football game. Because it wasn't even close. You're coming off a very bad week 1 loss to a Giants team that I still don't think is that great, and you got embarrassed. Nothing worked for you on offense. Your secondary was bad, more on that. Your quarterback was bad, more on that. Your O-line is now banged up. You kind of looked a bit unprepared. That's not been a staple of a Mike Vrabel team outside of some of the playoff games. So if you are panicking through 2 weeks, I get it. It's not just losing close games. It's that you really should be 1-1. And it should not have been as bad as it was in week 2. We saw how they played against the Bills last year, especially in the regular season. Not the case this week. So, what is your panic level? 1 to 100. It's not a 1. I'm not at 100 either, but I had concerns going in about the offensive line, some other pieces, and those have been amplified here. So what's your panic level? Sound off for me in the comment section. maybe a reason why you're not in full-fledged, running around the room panic mode is the AFC South is still very gettable. Jacksonville is the only team with a win right now. They are 1-1 from that standpoint, which I find interesting and curious as we continue to move forward. Houston and the Colts have a tie. Tennessee's a game back. Now, the next 5 games for Tennessee, as broken down here. Week 3 is a must-win football game for both teams. The Raiders and Titans are both winless, and both teams should have a win already, but they have different types of collapses. Week 1 for Tennessee, Week 2 for the Raiders. Loser of that game is probably not going to make the playoffs. Now, then you've got Week 4, Colts, Week 5, Commanders, Week 7, Colts, Week 8, Houston. All 5 of those games are winnable for Tennessee. They should get hot at this point in the schedule. Even if they don't go 5-0, that's fine. But you should win 3 games minimum, and really more likely 4, and be in a much better spot entering Week 8 with a couple division wins and right back in the mix. Tennessee can absolutely win this division, which you can bet on them to do at BetUS. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code CHAT125 gets you a 125% deposit bonus. That's when you put down at least $100. There are some fresh first head coach fired odds. Mike Vrabel's 4. We'll talk about Mike Vrabel at the end of today's show. I would not fire him. Now, Matt Rule, Frank Reich. Also, where's Mike McCarthy? Don't know where he's on this list. That's a different conversation for a different show altogether. But there's lots of stuff you can bet on with BetUS. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code CHAT125. Now, I made a big deal about, hey, you should be able to win some football games down the stretch. Not if your quarterback doesn't play better. That was a bad showing. The supporting cast wasn't great either. Tannehill sucked week 2. 11 of 20 for 117 yards, no scores, 2 INTs. He was bad. Full stop. And I know there's the segment that says it's Malik Willis time, which I get. He got some garbage time run, which, it's garbage time. It's not always a great eval positively or negatively for a player. He ain't ready yet, folks. 1 of 4 for 6 yards, ran into his own guy kind of and fumbled, 4 carries, 16 yards. He's just not there yet. If you want to see him more, I do get where you're coming from. Good or not so good, this should be Ryan Tannehill's team for the rest of the year. Now, next year, they got that contract. Titans did not restructure it this year. They've got outs on guys like Tannehill. Maybe they could use one. In the short term, pick a QB for me. RT for Ryan Tannehill. MW for Malik Willis. Sound off for me in the comment section. Let's move now to the secondary. And look, I get it. You didn't have Christian Fulton in that game. That's a big loss. He would have covered Stephon Diggs. The entire secondary was not good. They tried Trey Avery. He was horrible, got benched, and Stephon Diggs cooked him. He cooked every corner he played, every safety he played. Looked like one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL, right? 12 catches, 148 yards, 3 scores, winning and causing losses for many fantasy teams out there. The numbers for Caleb Farley in his first real, true challenging test, targeted 6 times, 4 catches, 68 yards, 1 touchdown, no pass breakups. Not particularly great. I'm hoping for better play out of your former first-round pick, as tough as that matchup was. Still pretty darn disappointing. Now, we're trying to get some subs or dubs. Hit 5K subs, and it was more likely the Titans are going to win football games. That is backed, again, by science. We have the data and the data to prove it. So if you want free Titans videos, hit that big red button and subscribe at youtube.com/Titans today. Some more week 2 takeaways. Your special teams was not special at all. And frankly, I wonder if Kyle Phillips will be this team's punt returner for that much longer. A muff punt in week 1, a brutal muff punt in week 2. Then you had Amani Hooker out there. He muffed one who recovered it. It was just a disaster. You cannot beat good football teams if your special teams suck. And that has been a case 2 straight weeks now. Your special teams has been a net negative for you. When the offense is not great, when the defense is not great, when the special teams is not great, when it's everything, you have to look at your coaching staff. And Mike Vrabel has to do a better job. I'm not advocating fire Vrabel, but through 2 games, he deserves some of this blame. Here's what Mike said postgame. It's not going to be about one person. We got our asses kicked. Plain and simple. They outcoached us. They outplayed us. That's the definition of it. I think Mike is right. It's up to him now to get this football team back on track. So predict the Titans record for me in 2022. It's an 0-2 start. There's a lot of football left, things to get changed. Sound off for me in the comment section. Again, you saw how high Vrabel was on those first coach to be fired odds. I ain't getting on board with that one. He's been great in Tennessee. 9-7, 9-7, 11-5, 12-5, 0-2. I am worried about this team. I think we all should be, even after only 2 games. I don't think it's fair, though, to advocate to fire Mike Vrabel already. But things have to change, or it's going to be a very disappointing year for Tennessee this season. So if you haven't already, please hit that big red button and subscribe at youtube.com/Titans today. More free videos when you subscribe.